So I used to work online before smartphones, and I think we started asking our users to send in pictures. And at that time, we had no real idea to tell if this was a picture that the user took, or if they took from online, or if if it's a professional photograph they were just sending in. And so when smartphones hit, everyone could take pictures. Smartphones were the shift where everyone had high quality video and a camera in their pocket. And so again, I go back to when news would break, usually now the first pictures you're going to see are not from a professional photographer. They're going to be from somebody who was there, an eyewitness with a camera. And I think my concern that got me into looking at verification is that's a huge potential for covering news. It's a huge opportunity, but it's also a huge challenge, because when there's not professional journalists capturing imagery, we need to make sure that the image that's being sent was taken in that location, taken today, not manipulated. And so I saw a huge opportunity to say, how can we actually move forward and capitalize on the idea that everyone's got photos, but making sure that we still hold the veracity of journalism and making sure that this image is representing the event that occurred today. So the Knight Foundation grant was for a project called Verified Pixel. The idea was more and more people are capturing newsworthy events with their cell phones. Whenever news would happen, someone, not a journalist, would take out their cell phone and take a picture. And so the project idea was, how do we actually put in place tests that would help newsrooms verify if the content has been altered or if it was taken in the location purported? So the test that was built were basically ingesting lots of pictures and running through tests that would look at metadata. They would look at the EXIF information, they would look at GPS positioning, and they would look at some other image forensic tests to see if the actual picture in question had been modified since capture. So it's generally a cat and mouse game, As the fakes get better, the technology to detect them get better, but they keep fighting with each other, right? And that's why, to be honest, on the highest realm of detection technology, they don't necessarily tell you what they're doing, because if they did, the people making the fakes would know, right? I almost liken it to email. Back 10, 15 years ago, you used to get a lot of spam email, right? And today, you still get some, but it's a smaller portion. I don't think you're ever going to eradicate misinformation, but the idea is to bring it down to that small portion. So I think that's the real goal. I don't think it's ever going to go away. To be honest, it's been with us since the invention of photography. But I think the idea is, how can we build tools that work to eradicate it down to that small subset? So a couple things. I think what's preventing people at this moment is sometimes they don't know about the tools. So that's what's great about what's happening today, is letting people know what tools are out there. Sometimes it's people, in a rush to just share information. And sometimes, unfortunately, I even found out that it's people sometimes who don't mind. Whether it's fake or not, they don't care about sharing fake imagery, because sometimes, they're more interested in the likes or the followers than the truth. So it's a mix of everything. I don't think there's one issue why we're still seeing more of this. I think it's going to be something, again, that really falls back on media literacy. It falls back on, if people are more empowered to know about the tools and more empowered to ask the questions about, is this real or not, I think that's the way forward to make sure that we can make a dent in the problem. So for everybody, I think it comes down to a couple things. I think it comes down to heightening media literacy. So being more questioning about, that image that came across social media, does it look real? Do I trust who it came from? Is it plausible? But then the other thing I would balance that with is the tools that I talked about today. Reverse image search, whether it's Google reverse image search, TinEye, or Yandex reverse image search, are completely free. So if there's ever a question, I think those are really easy go-to softwares that take seconds and don't cost anything. And so as people start knowing what's out there in that free realm, I think more and more we're going to be able to reduce that opportunity for misinformation to spread. Speaking of why people would want to do this, I think it revolves around trust and credibility, especially for people in the media. I think, reputations are built around trust and credibility. So I think that's one thing that media outlets can look at is, they don't want to be seen as amplifying misinformation, right? So it's imperative on them, I think, to do verification workflows to make sure that they're preserving their trust in the audience. And for the common person, I think it's the same thing. I think, I don't think any of us want to be known as the person that continually puts out false information, right? I think you lose your personal credibility. Those are, I think, some of the driving factors. On the penalty side, I think more and more it's different by region, but people are sometimes making it making laws against this type of thing. I don't necessarily think that's the way forward, but I think the best way forward is to make people have personal responsibility for the information that they're either putting out there or they're amplifying by sharing. So making people more responsible for what they're putting out there, because as we've seen in times before, sometimes misinformation can actually do actual harm to people.